September arrives and suddenly your life speeds up. Or at least mine does. We got school runs back, homework, we're driving our kids to practice. And yes, I'm a football mom now. Life is great. We got work deadlines and holidays on the horizon. Oh, and it's a lot. And with it comes that voice that says, oh, finish strong, do more, push harder. And that tiny voice inside of you gets amplified by your shitty social media. But babes, what if the way we set goals is part of the problem? What if the secret to ending the year well isn't about doing more, but about doing things differently? After all, if we keep on repeating the same shit, who are we to expect a different outcome? So in this episode of the Scenic Route, we're rethinking goal setting from summer's end to year's end with a framework that actually fits into your life.
There's a different way to think about mental health, and it starts with slowing down. Sometimes the longest way around is the shortest way home, and that's exactly why we're taking the Scenic Route. Hi, I'm Jennifer Walter, host of the Scenic Route podcast. Think of me as your sociologist, sister in arms, and rebel with many causes. Together, we're blending critical thinking with compassion, mental health with a dash of rebellion, and personal healing with collective change. We're trading perfectionism for possibility and toxic positivity for messy growth. Each week, we're exploring the path to better mental health and social transformation. And yes, by the way, pretty crystals are totally optional. You ready to take the Scenic Route? Let's walk this path together.
So we've just turned the corner from summer into fall, and if you're anything like me or most women, the pressure already has started to, we've got all these new routines in September, back to school. We're still fucking exhausted from summer, but thanks. And October ushers in Q4, and I don't know. It feels like the year's end is already glaring at me from the back. It's not that I don't enjoy kind of being swept up by this kind of the end of finishing the end of the year strong. I do want to set some goals. I want to get organized. I want to finish strong. But here's the problem. The way we're usually taught to set goals doesn't always fit into real life. It assumes perfect conditions. It assumes endless life and energy, and assumes that life won't interrupt you. And if you're managing kids, work, household, that's just not gonna happen. We're adults here. We can be honest. Life is lifing. So we need a goal setting approach that works even when life is lifing. And I got something that I've learned from my coach, Jessica Ely, a while back. She's been on the podcast many, many times. Love her. And it's a framework that I've used myself and I've used in my coaching practice, and it's a framework I would love to share because it can carry you not only out of this summer smoothly, but also into this year-end frenzy with clarity and compassion. I think originally it comes from a book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, back in 2004 by Stephen Covey. And basically they analyzed organizations, and they noticed that organizations focus way too much on things like quarterly profit, customer satisfaction, all these things that have already happened. They're things of the past. They realized that organizations have breakthroughs when they were focusing on things that they could control every day. That those were the things that were moving the needle. Really simple to apply this to your personal life. And it's a framework called lead versus lack goals. So in a nutshell, lack goals are the outcome. They're what you measure after the fact, like revenue or customer satisfaction or weight loss. They're important, and yet they're often not really in your control. Unless you're forcing people to buy your shit, you can't really force them to buy your shit, right? Then we have lead goals. Lead goals are the inputs, the actions, the things you do consistently that will lead to you reaching your lack goal. So if you want to increase your revenue, for example, things like reaching out to 2 past clients a week could be a lead goal to get you there. And the very crucial thing is lead goals are in your control. We're being honest here. Sometimes these lead goals are ridiculously small, and here's the kicker, we want you to be consistent, and in this consistency, lead goal after lead goal, you will reach your lack goal. So I also kind of like to think it as lack goals are the harvest and lead goals are the daily watering. They get a bit deeper, okay? You can really also like figure it out as kind of like, okay, lag goals show the results, while lead goals show the path to results, what moves the needle. And you can, I mean, most of the people go lag first approach. You start with the outcome you desire. That's usually what is on your mood board or your vision board, right? Like, I want to make X revenue this month. I want to run a marathon by next summer. I want to lose 10 pounds. And then you reverse engineer. What lead goals will get me there? And how often am I going to check in and evaluate? So if you've run, this is especially easy if it's something you've done in the past, then you have some data to work on. If you've run a marathon before, you know, okay, last time I ran a marathon, I trained this amount of week, this amount per week. That was my diet, blah, blah, blah. And you'd kind of like, so your first focus point would be, I'm just going to repeat and see what happens. If all the conditions are the same, maybe I'm going to reach my lag goal. If not, I'm going to change it up. Or you take kind of like the lead first approach. And it's not one is better than the other. It really depends on where you're at. So if you feel really like defeated or really glum about things that you're not hitting your outcomes, switch it up, right? Don't start with the finish line, start with the action. And the question there is really simple. What am I willing to commit to daily or weekly? And be brutally honest with your life, with yourself, right? Like, if your life at the moment doesn't really make it easy for you to commit to 1 hour yoga sessions every day, then maybe it's just a quick morning salutation at the start of your day. So you start with that question, then you ask, what outcome might that lead me to? I like it because it's more experimental. It's kinder. It kind of like draws into your curiosity. It just kind of like open. It feels very playful. And here's why like this whole lead versus lag goal framework is so effective. It shifts your attention to what you can actually control. It gives you real-time feedback. Because you know today, whether you walked or not, you know whether you reached out to a client, you know whether you wrote your morning pages. It holds some predictive power. The more consistent you are with your lead measures, the more likely the outcome will follow. And it gives you psychological wins every single day, right? Instead of waiting 3 months to see if the scale moved or your bank account grew, you celebrate every pound lost, every meal choice you made, every celebration along the way, right? And that's also how you keep the momentum going, because you're like, oh, I could do this. I did this. I'm going to do it again. And sometimes people come to me, okay, but what if this doesn't seem to work for me? It does, like, I did this, like, it's not working for me. Well, there's kind of like two approaches. One is you're not reaching your lag goals. So the first question to ask is, did I actually hit my lead goals? Did I actually commit to what I said I'm going to commit to? If not, well, that's where you start, right? Like, you still have to be the one who does these things. We're adult. We're grown-ups, so we still need to do shit. And if your answer is yes, I've did all my lead goals consistently, but they did not lead me to my lag goal, then that's just feedback. Then you're like, okay, this lead goal doesn't work right now. Maybe it worked in the past, but now it doesn't. You tweak, you test, you experiment, and keep on going. If you're not hitting your lead goals, that's to me often a sign that they're too big, too vague, not concrete enough, or as said in the beginning, not small enough. I mean, for me, it was so painful how tiny I had to get with my lead goals. For example, I had a client who said like, oh, I make a new website. That's not really a lead goal. That's a whole fucking project. You need to really break it down into smaller actionable steps. Like, I'm going to choose a platform. I'm going to pick a template. I'm going to pick a font. I'm going to, all these different kind of steps. Imagine kind of like, as you were writing like a screenplay, what is the actor doing? Make a website. If that's your advice to the actor, act like you're making a website. Well, what is he actually going to do? Those are the lead goals. So with that, the questions to sit with are, did I have the resources, the energy, the skills, the support to actually do my lead goals? If not, then we kind of like look at it to where questions at where my lead goals broken down enough? Did I give myself the time, the energy, the resources I needed? Do I need to adjust the frequency or the consistency? Or do I need to test a new approach? This is where the framework is so powerful, right? It's not rigid. It's not about perfection. It's about experimenting, adjusting, finding daily actions that truly move the needle, and the most playful way. And now you might be wondering, okay, I get it. It's just a new framework. It's a new method, whatever. Like, how the fuck is this different from all the other goal setting advice that's out there? And a very popular one you probably heard of are SMART goals, where SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And I don't know, I often hear that framework as on the pedestal of like gold standard for productivity. In some ways, I like it because it forces you to be very clear about your goal. You can't just say, I want to get healthier, right? If you want to do a SMART goal, you would really need to say, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds by October 30th. So it's clear, precise, trackable, and has a deadline. Again, the catch is most SMART goals, or the way most people define SMART goals, they're actually lack goals. They're focused on the end result, right? The lose 5 pounds, the run 10K, to finish the manuscript, the 100K revenue, and so on. And again, we run into the same problem, right? The results aren't fully in your control. You can eat differently, move more, still not lose weight at the timeline you set for your body, because your body's like, screw you, don't care. You can write diligently chapter for chapter of your book, but life is lifing. The manuscript is not done on timeline, by the deadline. So when the lack goal is kind of like framed as the only measure of success, you miss all the progress that happens along the way. And if you're already stretched thin with kids, work, homework, and another 1,000 moving parts, missing that outcome can really feel like failure. Even if you have meaningful progress, it kind of like just gets blurred over. And if you're not feeling the progress, that's often where momentum breaks down. You start to feel like, why bother? Why give a crap? I'm already behind. Like, just might burn everything down. And that's also why so many SMART goals, and especially like those fancy, shiny, glossy New Year's resolutions fizzle out. Where SMART goals do have their place, I think, is when you already have like stability, support, bandwidth, and a lot of experience with goal setting for yourself. Like you've trained that muscle. If you have all that, a SMART goal can be really motivating. For me, it was just more like absolute buzzkill. And I feel that runs true for a lot of my clients. Like if life is lifing isn't tidy, you have all these like invisible labor, mental load. And it was just really hard to stick to something because I couldn't see the progress. So it was really also nice for me to have something like I have control over, that I can influence. I could influence if I did my teeny tiny lead goals. So it really helped me to build momentum through these teeny tiny wins. And of course, I also had to wrap my head around that I had to start really incredibly teeny tiny smaller than I probably would have liked if I'd asked my ego. Check that out at the door. So kind of like let's practice this a bit, okay? If we say for family life, one lack goal could be peaceful mornings without everyone rushing and screaming. So we could ask, okay, what lead goals could be there? Maybe one is prep lunches the night before, pack your bags the night before, lay out clothes with your kids the night before, whatever. Like for work, if your lack goal is finish my year-end projects on time, the lead goal could be I'm going to block 2 focus sessions each week until the end of December. If you lack goal is kind of like, oh, I want to host a perfect Christmas dinner, one lead goal could be I delegate 1 task per week in regards to planning this Christmas dinner starting in October. Or I want to feel calmer during Christmas season as a lack goal. A lead goal could be, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes of breath work before I pick up my kids from school 3 times a week. Like, notice how each lack goal sets the direction, but the lead goals make it actually doable in real life. So here's the kind of like another really important part. Lack goals, they aren't bad. Like, there's nothing inherently bad with them. They're your compass, the lighthouse, but they're not a measure of your worth. Like, if you're not achieving them, that's just data. It doesn't mean anything about your willpower or whatnot. Lead goals are where you build self-trust, where you train your muscle, where you commit to something you're gonna do consistently. They're the place where you get to say, I did this thing I said I would do, regardless of what else life threw at me. And what makes this method so powerful for us is it meets you where you are. Really be like, no, you know what? My lead goal in this season right now with my schedule looks like this. This is what I honestly can commit to right now with the bandwidth, the resources, the capacity I have available to me right now. So as you move from summer's end towards the year end, I want you to really remember that. Well, first, you don't really need to do it all, right? And I don't know, cleanse up your social media feed and get more decent people into it who are not telling you kinds of craps and make you feel about yourself. And you don't need to finish perfectly. There's I don't know, whatever. We don't care about perfection here. You just kind of need to keep walking. Tiny, teeny, tiny, steady leap steps, just one after the other. One after the other. You got this. So thank you so much for joining me on the Scenic Route this week. If this episodes resonate, share it with a friend who might need a gentle way of approaching goals right now. And remember, the Scenic Route is about finding a path that feels sustainable to you. And we really don't care about sprinting to a finish line. See you next week.
And just like that, we've reached the end of another journey together on the Scenic Route podcast. Thank you for spending time with us. Curious for more stories or in search of the resources mentioned in today's episode? Visit us at scenicroutepodcast.com for everything you need. And if you're ready to embrace your scenic route, I've got something special for you. Step off the beaten path with my Scenic Route affirmation card deck. It's crafted for those moments when you're seeking courage, yearning to trust your inner voice, and eager to carve out a path authentically, unmistakably yours. Pick your Scenic Route affirmation today and let it support you. Excited about where your journey might lead? I certainly am. Remember, the Scenic Route is not just about a destination, but the experiences, learnings, and joy we discover along the way. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on the Scenic Route again.